All right, welcome everyone to our live streaming today on wealth building with house hacking. And I'm Malvin with eXp Realty. I have
Chris Robley with Loan Depot.
Okay, and today we're gonna talk about everything about house hacking, especially how it will help you to either start buying your first home or start investing in more homes in the future. So the first question for today, not a lot of people are familiar with house hacking. Some people think it's something related to computer, trying to see a camera somewhere. Actually, yeah, well, I'm not that...
No, I'm not that good either.
No.
I can't pull that off.
Right. But house hacking in real estate, it is something about renting out part of your home and use the other part for yourself and make money out of that. It has been quite a journey that people start doing more and more house hacking because of the high house pricing right now, and especially monthly payments. So let me ask you, Chris, what are the benefits of house hacking that you usually see?
Right now, like you were saying, interest rates are high, right? So monthly payments are much higher than people want. Also, you might not have the down payment necessary to get the house that you want. So if you're house hacking, you're really just using income from somebody else in order to keep your payments small. And that's great for the short term. Like, we all want a lower payment, right?
Exactly.
When you're going from renting to owning, you're going to be a little shocked. So you want that shock to be as low as possible. But also, if you can set yourself up for the long term, where you're able to qualify for a much better house, that's the real benefit of owning, is theoretically you should be getting a nicer house every couple of years as your equity goes up and up. And house hacking is the quickest way to be able to do that. So we're going to go over all the tips, things that we wish, well, I mean, you did a great job, but I was even telling you, I have so many things I wish I had done that I really can't do now, but if I was starting over, I would have done all these tips I'm about to tell you that we're going to share.
All right, thank you for sharing your opinion. And there are two other things I see people do with house hacking. One is help them to improve their purchase power.
Definitely.
Sometimes you want to buy a house for yourself, but you don't have enough income. So having somebody paying part of the rent, then you will be able to afford something more. And one very important thing about house hacking is it is a practice for you to become a landlord.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to invest in houses, investment houses, and they are scared because they don't know how to handle the tenants, and they hear all kind of crazy things about that. So living in the same home with your tenants give you some experience.
Yeah, you can spy on them too, which is really good.
Yeah, but when you're renting out part of your home, you are not as much restricted by the law as you are a professional investor renting a full property.
Yeah.
So I would say those are really good benefits of house hacking.
Definitely. And like you were saying, you can keep an eye on your property. It is your property. You're going to care a lot about it. You're going to love your first home, and you're going to be able to make sure it's kept up to date. There's nothing crazy going on over there. They're not like raising monkeys or something.
Exactly.
So it definitely is a good transition into becoming a landlord if you do start buying other properties after.
All right. And now I would like to share a couple of stories of how Chris and I have been helping people to house hack. The first story is a transaction we did together in 2021. My client was looking for a single family, and his purchase price was $450-ish, and we couldn't find anything in his area.
Nothing that existed.
Right. So Chris and I came up with the idea, hey, why don't you try with the duplex? And I went to Chris and said, hey, how much my client could afford if he's buying something that already has tenant in one unit and he's going to use the other one. Guess what? We helped that client bought a duplex in South LA.
Yeah.
For $680, I remember.
$680, huge jump, right? Before he was only qualifying for, like you said, was it $450?
Yeah, around.
There wasn't even a shed for $450.
Exactly.
LA.
Yes.
$680, he got a great property, and the best part about it is we were qualifying him with the rents that were already in the property. He already had a renter, so there was already somebody that was going to be living in the property that was paying rent right now. He was going to buy it. We could use that rent to add for future income. That's a great thing that we can do as a bank, is we can use theoretical future income from a renter.
Exactly. And another story is actually my personal story, because not everybody can go and buy a duplex. This is way before I became an agent. But my family live in a single family house, and we have a back room. In the back, technically this is connected, but we can always close the door, and that's why we close the back door. I'm sorry, not the back door, the door to the back room, and rent it out. And I didn't even need to hire anybody to do that before I became an agent. I just posted on Facebook and find some tenants, and we've been having happy tenants since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What did you have to do when you were, because I don't even know everything that went into you guys sealing kind of it off and making it a second unit almost, right? Was that difficult?
No, not at all. It depends on the setup of the property. Nowadays, some people use their detached garage or even an attached garage, convert it to an ADU if the city would allow to, and make it a rental unit. Or if you have a separate bedroom in one side of the house that you can create a private entrance, that is another way, and that wouldn't interfere with your privacy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And another way people do house hacking, which is fairly new, maybe just like the last several years, is Airbnb out one of the room. Yeah. So with Airbnb, the good thing is because you live in the same property, you don't have to pay for cleaning. You can just do cleaning yourself, and you don't have to worry about people having party or trashing your house. So and you don't always have guests. So if you want to use your house or want some privacy, sometimes you can just block out the dates. Otherwise, you make some money to pay for your mortgage.
Your mortgage, yeah, absolutely. And California is one of the best Airbnb places that are in the United States. We have so many attractions. We have so many people that come out of state. California is one of the highest tourist states that there is. So by opening up a part of your house, you're going to have the situation where you're going to be able to rent it for a lot of the time that you want. That's always going to subsidize your mortgage. Like you were saying, it's going to make things a lot cheaper. And if you don't want people in there, you just block out the dates. It just gives you a lot more control than having a full-time renter if you're not really wanting to jump into that.
Exactly. For Airbnb, there's just a little tricky because the regulations will depend on the city. Some would allow you to rent your room. Some would not allow it all. So make sure if you're thinking about Airbnb, check with me or anyone who is familiar with the Airbnb rules and make sure that is possible.
Does Anaheim still let you do new Airbnbs or no?
That is a good question. So for the city of Anaheim, from my understanding is they don't issue any new permits. So if you want to do Airbnb in Anaheim, you have to purchase a property with a permit.
That's already got the permit, right?
Yes.
It's like you're deer hunting.
I know, right? Yeah, but there are a lot of other places still allowing Airbnb. Yeah, so I do have a list of that. If you want that, just drop your email in the comments and then I'll send it to you.
Perfect.
All right. And now we know that house hacking is a good way for you to start investing, even buying your first home and already invest. Could you tell me some strategies on the loan side of how you can do it?
Absolutely. Well, like that first example you were talking about was a really good one. So if you are looking at properties, let's say, the average income as low as this would seem for California is only $5,000 a month, right? So if you're trying to buy a property, let's say you have zero debt, $5,000 a month is how much you're making. That means your maximum mortgage could be half of that. So your mortgage payment could be $2,500. But that's like a $300,000 house, in Orange County. So that's not very much. Finding that house is going to be difficult. But if you start looking at duplexes and you start looking at the average rents, well, a lot of us rented around here and we probably paid anywhere between $1,500 and $2,500, sometimes even more than that. So if you think about taking that rental income and adding it to your $5,000, now we're at $7,000, $7,500, sometimes even $8,000. Well, 50%, remember, of our income plus that rent, we're now looking at a maximum mortgage of maybe $3,000 instead of $2,500, $3,500, $4,000. You can see how that's going to bump up your purchasing power quite a bit. And because you're going to have a renter, you don't have to be afraid of that mortgage payment. You're going to have somebody that's helping you pay it. And the thing that's so amazing about owning a house is, unlike renting, your payment's only going to get less over time. It's only going to go down and down and down. Now, I don't know if the federal government meant for this to happen, because they're so against people basically making wealth on real estate. They have so many rules that make it kind of hard, except for buying units. If you were buying units, like a 2-unit duplex, right, you want to go conventional, you would have to put 15% down. Even if it's your very first house, you have to put 15% down if you're going to live in a unit and you're going to rent out the other unit. On FHA, you can put only 3.5% down. That's it. On a 2-unit, on a 3-unit, on a 4-unit, you can put down 3.5%. So it's almost like they want you to be able to make as much money back on the purchase as you possibly can. The other magic of buying units is this. If, like, let's say, you see this awesome property, right? It's a duplex. It's in LA. Let's say it's $600,000. We buy it. We rent out we rent out one side of it, and it's paying half of our mortgage. Then after a year, we decide we're going to upgrade. We get a nicer duplex. We're going to rent out the one we're in right now, right? So now that covers our mortgage completely. And maybe we have enough equity. Let's say our average equity went up 7%. We pull a little bit of that equity out. Rates drop, we refinance. We lower the mortgage payment a little bit, pull that money out. And then we buy another property, another duplex, right? But it's nicer. Let's say it's $800,000. We live in that unit. We rent out the other unit. And then we do another year. Buy another duplex or maybe a triplex. See, as long as you stay buying units, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, you're going to keep on doing that over and over again. When you can't do it is if you buy a duplex and then you buy a really nice house. Because they're never going to believe that you're going from your nice house that's, 3,000 square feet, a pool in the backyard, to now a triplex. They're never going to believe that. They're going to believe that you're just going to rent all those rooms out, right? So as long as you stay as long as you can put up with the duplex game for a while, you can buy a lot of properties and significantly create a lot of financial wealth through real estate. You could own. I have VA and FHA buyers that have done this. They started when they were in their 30s. I'm in my 40s. I wish I had done this. And already in 10 years, all of their life expenses are covered. Like they're pretty much, they could quit their job at my age and not have to pay anything. So house hacking with duplexes is a magical deal. It's something I wish I had known about.
All right, that is great. And I'm just curious because renting out units or a room is a traditional house hacking tips. And recently people pull more toward the Airbnb side.
Oh, yeah.
And for people who don't want to Airbnb just a room, they want to get a vacation home.
Like the whole house.
Yes, and they Airbnb that out. So my question is, what is the difference between a second home and investment home? And secondly, can you Airbnb a second home when you get in a mortgage?
Absolutely. So the second home, the advantage of going second home over investment is investment requires 20% down. You have to put 20% down. They assume that is going to be a rented property. You're going to rent it full time. You're never going to live in it. A second home, you only have to put 10% down. But how do they determine whether it's an investment home or a second home? Well, one of the rules is, in most cases, a second home has to be with at least 50 miles away from your primary residence, right? It has to be far from where you're currently living because otherwise they're going to think you're not actually buying a second home. They're thinking you're going to buy an investment property and you're classifying it as a second home. Then the other rule is, if it happens to be in a vacation area, Joshua Tree, it's a big one, Big Bear, Lake Arrowhead, even Lake Elsinore. California is so great for that because everywhere is kind of a vacation area in California, right?
Yes.
Except for maybe Victorville. They do have nice outlets, so maybe you could say Victorville. But you can pass that in underwriting pretty easily doing a second home. So let's just say you're looking at a second home, $500,000. Well, instead of putting $100,000 down, which would be on an investment, you only have to put half that, 10%, which is $50,000. And in order to classify as a second home, you just have to say you're only going to short-term rent it, so Airbnb it, 180 days out of the year. And the rest of the time you're going to stay there. And that's pretty easy. 180 days is a lot. I think you have Airbnbs, right? How many days do you normally do?
It depends on the timing, but I do agree that 180
is that pretty easy to pull off?
Yes.
So there you go. I don't have any Airbnbs. I wish I did. That's why I defer to Malvin for this.
You know what? Next week you should go and shop some Airbnb.
I know. I will. I'll go with you, man. You got to find me somewhere with no bears.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing the strategies with financing. I think that's very important because if you have a lot of money, you can always own rental properties, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't have a lot and you want to build your wealth, especially take advantage of the appreciation for properties in Southern California, this is just the best way to do that.
Makes it so easy.
Yeah, and I'll make it a little more easy for you by giving you some ideas of where you can find homes in certain price range. So I have here First is single family home, 3 bedroom, 2 bath with a garage, 2-car garage, so something decent size in case you want to convert it into an ADU. And of course, if the city would allow to, then you can make it as like a studio for rental.
Perfect.
If you can buy about 450,000 or less, you can go to Moreno Valley or Rialto. Oh, and by the way, I'm just scouting around 40-mile radius from Santa Ana where we're doing this live streaming.
Which is smart because then it'll classify as a second home from there.
Yeah. And then if you can go up to 550, you can find some options in Riverside or Lake Elsinore. If you can go up to 650, then Corona, West Covina, Chino, you have actually quite some options out there. And then if you can go up to 750, you can actually buy in Orange County, like Santa Ana, Anaheim already.
Yeah, you have a lot of areas, especially in Anaheim, that there's more. Would you say there's more multi-units in Anaheim?
So
than
these
most
are just
places?
single family.
Oh, these are just single family. Gotcha.
Yes, with the 3 bedroom, so you can fit your family and
Gotcha.
potentially rent out one of the room, and then it has a 2-car garage, right? If you want to go with duplex options, then if your purchase power is 550, then you can go to South LA or Long Beach. There are some options over there. If you can go between 550 and 650, East LA, Ontario, Pomona areas that you can start off with. If you can go up to 750, then you can go to Riverside, Hawthorne, Pico Rivera.
Right.
And then if you can go up to 850 for a duplex, you can get a little closer to the ocean, like Inglewood, Northeast LA, or you can go to Santa Ana and Placentia. So there are plenty of options out there. And what we can do is, if you have an idea of how much you can afford, if you don't, talk to Chris, he will help you.
I will
get
help you.
approved. If you already do, and you wonder which areas you can go and look for homes, you can always reach out to me. And I will post this video on my YouTube later on, and I'll try to add some maps so you can have the idea of where the locations are. And keep in mind, this is information for March 3rd of 2023. So the market may be
Changes a
different the
lot.
other day.
Changes a lot.
But what we can guarantee is we have the most updated data when we do our live stream.
Absolutely.
And then, oh yeah, this is one thing I would like to discuss. So sometimes people ask me, they want to invest in real estate, but they're scared of certain things. So these are the questions I usually hear. First is they don't know how much they can rent the property for.
Right.
I would say usually when I help my clients go search for home, I also run comps for rental. So let's say 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom in that area, how much is rent for. And then I will give you a broad idea so you know. And in some cases, I could even find properties with tenant in place.
Already there, rented.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about figuring out the rent amount itself.
Perfect. That's the best.
Another problem people ask me is, hey, if I get something with a tenant, how do I know if they're good tenants? Because, bad tenant stories, horror stories circulate all around the internet.
Yeah.
We all hear about that.
Yep.
And I would say that is the number one reason that keeps people from investing in real estate. But the fact is, horror stories or clickbaits or something that people want to talk about. If you're renting, are you a horror client?
Yeah,
Not
all of us
tenant.
have rented. Like
Yeah,
I don't even know that many bad renters when I think about it.
We all have rented at some point in our life, and let's think about ourselves: are we bad renters? If we are not, then we know at least good renters are out there.
Yeah.
So how do you qualify renters, or how do you verify that renters are paying? As a real estate agent, when I write an offer, I always ask for proof of payments, on-time payments from the current tenants.
Ooh,
and then
okay.
I also try to talk to the tenants, especially for my clients, to talk to tenants so they can have the feel of the current tenants. If there are new tenants, I can either help them to do the lease if they want to lease the whole house, or more likely I'll show them how they can lease the property themselves, how they can screen the tenants. Those are my experience renting my back house, right?
Yeah.
I share all of that with my clients, so they're well prepared. And in fact, since I started doing real estate, I've never got a client who bought a rental property or rent out part of their home, come back and tell me, hey, how do you evict somebody? That's not happened to
That's
me yet.
never happened?
No.
That's awesome. I would have assumed it would happen at least once or twice.
I couldn't guarantee it will never happen, but
But
at
that's
least,
still really good. If that's
Yeah, we
people's
can-
biggest fear and you've never even had that happen.
Yes. So yeah, if you're really concerned about screening tenants and make sure that you have some decent tenants coming through your door, yeah, just talk to me, and I'm more than happy to share with you the the tips. And even on the Airbnb, I also own my own Airbnb, so I could help you set up your Airbnb business from the ground. Like how do you set up everything,
So don't be overwhelmed.
tips and everything. Yeah.
Malvin will walk you through the whole thing.
Yeah, in fact, I do have a client who bought an Airbnb, probably a second home, and then he put it on market as an Airbnb, and I helped him set up everything, and he just got a couple of bookings when he got it live last month.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
yeah, that's why you need real estate agents and good loan officers to help you purchase a home, because we're here to share our experience and to walk you through the steps that you don't know and to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah. We will walk you through it step by step.
Okay, so that is pretty much the one-on-one on house hacking. And let's see if we have any questions.
Awesome.
By the way, if you have questions, please post it in the comments so we can take a look and answer them. Okay, I have...
Oh, Lori. Hi, Lori.
Yeah, she's been texting me. Why didn't
Lori
you
is
guys
the
start yet?
genius with Airbnb stuff. But we won't give her contact.
Okay, so I got a question. Rates are high now. Is it smart to wait? Have heard some investors say buy when high. What do you think about this?
Rates are high right now. Is a smart to wait. Okay, so California is different than any other state. Because if you're looking in the news, you're probably seeing that they're saying that prices are dropping. And that's because it's Kansas. Like, it's not dropping in California. I mean, every offer we've been putting in for our clients, how much did we go over asking on that?
The last one I got...
50,000? What was
not,
it?
Not
30?
that much for the last one I got, but I do agree that if you go for single family, actually got a... we didn't get that offer in, but I know that the highest offer was about 80,000 above asking.
80,000 above asking. Average interest rate is like 6.875. So high rates is not going to make it so that there's no competition in California. At the beginning of the rates spiking, everybody was shocked. They were like, what in the world? Nobody had ever seen, I mean, since I've been doing this job, I've never seen a rate that high, right? So everybody, first-time home buyers, even loan officers were like, what in the world is this? But now everybody's kind of realizing this is here to stay for at least a decent amount of time. And everybody was hoping, even though we knew this wasn't going to happen on the loan side, but a lot of buyers were hoping there was going to be a crash. They were hoping it was going to be like 2008. They're going to get a house for super cheap. But the circumstances are nothing like that. And in 2008, the only people that bought houses for cheap were investors that paid all cash. Like, none of us had all cash that could do that. So no prices of homes are going down because there's just not enough homes. The inventory is crazy low. Right now, for every pre-approved person we have, it's for every, I remember exactly how they said this because it was yesterday on the market report. It was for every one house, there's 4 buyers that are pre-approved for that house. So there's way more people looking for houses than houses available. So it's simple supply and demand. It's going to make it so the prices stay high. So right now, it's still a good time to buy because you can still negotiate in some areas. You know, single families. Is single families the hottest thing you're saying?
Yes. So if you want a single family with a nice lot, well, that is what you're going to go through 80,000 above asking. But if you go for duplexes and single family with smaller lots, or something that will need a little bit of fixing,
yeah,
it shouldn't be too bad.
You know what's interesting too is a lot of people don't go for duplexes. Duplexes will sit way longer than a single family because, well, think about it. When you think about a duplex, it's not like a attractive first home. When you first think about it, you're like, I'm buying my first home. I either want a condo with a pool, I want a nice big backyard or something. You're not thinking about having a duplex, right? So a lot of people avoid them, which is good for you if you are looking for a duplex. You're going to have way less competition.
Exactly. Oh, and Lori just made a comment that I think very interesting. Rates are higher, and it's not high because, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she saw
yeah.
the double digits rates before.
True.
Yeah.
True. We're not in a 10 or 11s, so count your blessings.
Yeah. This is what I would put it. So I think if you can afford the payments, then you can still buy. Because like Chris mentioned, it doesn't look like there's going to be any crash or house going to go significantly lower. So the more you wait, there's chances that the rate can go even higher.
Yeah.
Or if the rates go lower, then the price will start going up fast as well.
Yeah.
So if you think that you can afford the payment, especially with the help of a tenant, then I would say don't let the rate scare you, because in a couple of years, or maybe I don't know when the rates going down. I'm not God, I don't know that. But when the rate goes down, you can always refinance. And keep in mind the rent also increase every year. So do you want to be on the side that your incoming money increases, or do you want to be on the side that your outgoing money increases?
Right.
Right. So when we are in this side of real estate, it's life is a little bit easier for us. Yeah. So I hope that I would answer the questions about should we wait or should we buy.
This is another really good question. Do I have to live in a duplex I purchase, or can I rent out both units right away? That's an excellent question. So you do have to live in one of the units for at least 12 months on FHA. As soon as you hit that year, you can flee. You can go live back with your parents if you want to and rent, or rent free, which would be even better, and rent both units out, save some money, then buy another duplex anytime you have your savings in order. So just remember that they will check, and the way they're going to check sporadically that you are living in a unit is they're going to check what address your bank statements go to, and they're going to check what the utilities name are under. So if me, Chris Robley, if I buy a duplex and then all of a sudden 3 months later utilities are in Malvin's name, they're going to be like, They check that sporadically, but they will, if that happens and they catch that, it'll make it very difficult for you to buy another duplex in the future. So just keep that in mind. Good question.
Right. And circling back to your points about people usually don't like the duplex for first home as much as a single family. I think this is a lifestyle. There are some sacrifice, some trade-off when you decide to go down this road, which is your lifestyle. Duplexes are usually not as new, because most of the time people build new single family or new townhome and not new duplexes.
Right.
Unless you buy a big lot and then you build another one.
Right.
So that's the problem. And the second problem is because it's usually it's rented to somebody, so the inside might not look as nice. But look at this in an investor perspective. If you live in one unit, what you can do is you can renovate the units, right?
Yep.
So in the future, you can rent out that unit for more money.
Yep.
And then the value will probably also increase. And I see sometimes people do it in one unit, and then they change to the other units.
Yeah, they'll switch, right? They'll have the renter switch to the nice unit that they just did. They'll move into the other one and remodel that one.
Right. And I think 6 months is a sufficient amount of time for you to do some remodeling and make some profits on the renting as well.
If I wouldn't smash my thumb with a hammer doing the remodel myself, I would absolutely do this. I would have no hand by the time a year was up, though. But it is, if you're pretty good at repairing stuff, and you can do it for cheap. Oh my goodness, the sweat equity, that term, it becomes magic if you can do that on your own properties. You can make your equity, if you put any amount of effort into it, goes up exponentially. Just maintaining great kitchen, floors, bathrooms. That's the other thing that really adds a lot of value that people don't realize. If you convert half bath into a full bath, appraisers really put a lot of value onto that, which is, it doesn't really make a ton of sense, but they love it for some reason. Kitchens too. So if you can do that kind of modifications while you're living in it, it's just going to be so great for you in the future.
Exactly. Oh, and another question people ask me is where can they find house hacking with positive cash flow? So I think everybody is concerning about that, because it's really hard to make positive cash flow in Southern California.
Yeah.
This is the rule of thumb. The more money you make from your property house hacking, the more sacrifice you will have on your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But you don't have to have positive cash flow when you do house hacking, because it will limit yourself in very few markets right now. What I believe is the better way to do is you find something that could cover, doesn't have to cover your whole mortgage payments. But if after everything you pay less than you're renting, then you already make a profit.
Absolutely.
Somebody's helping you out with the rent. And then think about not only the rental income that you're making, also think about the tax benefits you have when owning a house. And of course, the appreciation is something for long term. So don't let the positive cash flow trap to keep you from exploring the options.
No.
Because, and always remember this, the loan, the interest rate is fixed for 30 years. It can go lower, but it will not go higher.
Right.
Your rents will go higher.
Always.
So,
I will say too, the people that I've seen start doing this, I had a client that started it 3 years ago. He bought a duplex, and he has always been a Porsche guy. Actually, him and his brother own a dealership that's like salvage dealership. They've always had Porsches, right? When after the first year of doing this, he realized he could just see, he's only like 27. He could just see the potential. He sold all of his Porsches. I think he drives a Hyundai now. So he limited his expenses completely because he wanted to buy other properties, and he wanted to make sure he was as cash positive as possible. Because once you start doing it, you're going to see the numbers, and you're going to see the end goal where you're really going to be able to set yourself up in a way where you're not depending on, hopefully, your Social Security, which in this country, who knows what happens with that, pensions that you don't know if are going to come through. Real estate is like one of the last tangible things that we have in the United States. It's one of the last things that's actually a value based on something real. And so when you start seeing that, you will get a little bit addicted to it. It makes it where as soon as you start having extra cash, you're going to want to put it into it because you see how much it gives you back. So I think it's something that everybody really, once they look into it, it's not as scary once you try it.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. It sounds profitable when you two put it. Okay, but why don't many people go out and do that? This is a good question. I would say number one thing is the fear of dealing with tenants. I've seen actually, in fact, I used to rent out used to share a house in a room in somebody's house. They were house hacking, and they didn't even own that house. They rented the whole house and then
they sublet it.
Yes, and then
That's
when I
awesome.
told them, well, why don't you own something and do it all over again? And they was, what if I get bad tenants? I said,
You're already doing it.
Am I that bad? Yeah, but then when I got out and bought my own home, and they start believing in it, and they actually go and buy something for themselves.
Oh, yeah. I feel like most people just don't think about it that way. Because when you're trying to buy your first house, when you're going from renting to buying your first house, the whole American dream is you're buying a yard, you're buying a bigger space for you and your family. You're not necessarily going into it with the view of creating wealth through real estate, which is where it's really the most powerful. I will actually say that most people that their parents bought a house and then their parents bought a house, they've been in the States for a long time, they're at the biggest disadvantage. Because the houses are just, to them, it's like their parents bought one and they lived in it forever. You know, they were in school, high school, college, and their parents always had that house. It's where it's really the newer generations that are looking at it as a way of making real money. And I think Airbnb, VRBO really had a huge impact on that. But it is something that more and more people are maybe figuring out. But still, it's not nearly as popular as you would think.
I agree. And like I mentioned, it's okay to have a fear because of everything we hear on social media and people telling us. But keep in mind that you're not doing all by yourself. You have us, and we have other people we trust and work with. So when you go into an extra deal and you need help with, say, contractors, you need help with just any details handling the tenants, we're here to share with you our experience and share with you our network. So you have your help needed for you to start.
Yeah, it's really in my and Malvin's best interest with every client we work with that we make it so you're as financially solid as possible. So you continue to buy more properties. You know, we want to make sure that we create a wealth strategy for you where you're going to be able to do this over and over and over again. Because obviously that benefits us, but it's also going to benefit you, your family, anybody that you refer. So when we're running numbers, we're not trying to push you to any limit. We're trying to make things as affordable as humanly possible and put you in a situation where it's going to be a net positive for you and your family, not something that's going to stress you out. Because at the end of the day, we're not making the mortgage payment. You're going to be making the mortgage payment. So
right.
We really try to make that as easy on you as we can.
Yeah, and we want you to come back and buy more homes.
Yeah. You'll know where we live, so it really doesn't go well for us if we make it hard on you.
It is really a win-win situation when we help you and then you come back and bring more business to us.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to share today is this is just an educational session, so all the informations are pretty general. Don't take us as investment advices. If you really want to figure out the deals, sit down with us. You can always schedule a half an hour consultation when we can go through with you the numbers, how much you can purchase, and what markets out there that can be somewhat profitable, so you can have a better idea of what you should do and what you should not. So yeah, drop your email if you want to get some more information on our future events, and then also just give us a phone call or send us a private message if you have any questions, and we're more than happy to answer.
Absolutely. We hope we helped everybody. If you guys need anything, have any other questions, please let us know. We will be here for you.